Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
And we say good morning to James Cootes, he's the Otaki Ward Councillor. Good morning, James.
Good morning.
Well, you've heard the news of the airport. Any comments from your perspective, from a councillor's point of view, I should imagine?
Yeah, look, I think it's extremely disappointing. Not surprising. I mean, we've always been aware that there was the risk of Air New Zealand pulling out of the airport at Kapiti. We've worked hard as a council to do what we can to support the service and encourage people to use it. More recently, we've done some destination stuff. We've worked with Air New Zealand, and as you're aware, we had the open day just over the weekend. So, you know, in one hand, it's come as a bit of a shock, certainly with the open day just having been just days ago, but then over sort of a longer period, I wouldn't say it comes as no surprise because you know, there has been some sort of positive things happening in that space. Again, you know me, I'm not one to sort of pull any punches or not say it how I see it. It has been disappointing, the reliability of the service, and so you know, we've been frustrated because they said they're pulling the service due to lack of numbers. You know, in a way, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's been frustrating for users and it's been frustrating for us. But I think, from what I can gather, that's partly paid into the decision of pulling the service was around their lack of confidence in being able to provide a reliable service because of their other constraints around the country with planes and crews.
I always think another way about this, Kapiti, have we sort of been a bit behind the eight ball, as I mentioned earlier this morning with the Mayor? We haven't really spent a great deal on economic development, and that's possibly part of the problem, is it?
Look, I don't think so. I don't think that's part of the problem for Air New Zealand pulling out, and I'll elaborate a bit further on why personally I think that's the case. But I guess in going back to your original question about how much we've spent on economic development, I would probably say we probably have underspent over the last few years. The difficulty of economic development, and I think I've said this before, it's challenging for ratepayers to it's very unpalatable for ratepayers. They find it difficult to see where the return on that investment you know, comes from. It's a hard one to measure. You know, have we been more busier on the Kapiti Coast because of the work that the council's done, or just simply because a new road's gone through? You know, and at the moment you would argue the road has probably more influence on that than a destination website that we've done, or, you know, business meetings or whatever. I'm just sort of, you know, just making that up. But I don't think it's been to the demise of the airport. And I said I'd elaborate further. You've got a very good airport, just an hour's drive, depending on the time of the day, to the south, and you've got another equally good airport an hour to the north, with Palmerston North and Wellington. So that was always going to be against Kapiti. It has advantages in terms of its location around ease of access, and it doesn't get, you know, fogged out and so forth, but then you also can't land the bigger planes in there as well. So I think they're more contributing factors. Again, from what I've heard, if they've got a flight in another city that's had a cancellation because, or not, you know, they've got mechanical issues, they'll pull a plane from Paraparaumu and replace it at that one, and because they have no competition in Paraparaumu, there's no Jetstar, where in Hamilton, if they did that, all the customers would flock to, you know, Jetstar to organise their flights. So, you know, I don't know if it's entirely bums on seats. I mean, that being said, though, again, to be upfront, I'm not directly involved in the discussions with Air New Zealand. That's sort of at a mayoral level, and also the Chamber of Commerce and so forth. So I need to be careful. You know, I'm not directly involved in the meetings. Yes,
well, as the Mayor said, and I agree with him, it's a business decision, and when you're in business, you make these decisions. You might close down one of your shops. It mightn't be the best for some customers, but hey, it's for your benefits in the long run.
Yeah, look, and I agree, but I'd also add, and the Deputy Mayor mentioned this morning in the chat that her and I had, it is our national carrier, and it is very closely aligned with our national government, obviously it's a Labour-led government, but, the government of the country. So I think there's a little bit of a point of difference there. And our current government is talking about supporting regional communities, towns and cities and so forth. So, I think there's some merit in that point that Janet has raised, just in an informal chat that her and I had this morning. So,
yes.
Certainly I think, again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the Mayor. I have had a bit of a chat with him, but, if there is any opportunity for us to discuss this with Chris Farfoy, with Minister of Transport and so forth, just around what their intentions are around supporting communities like us, then that needs to be had as well. Air New Zealand needs to do what they need to do from a business perspective, but there's also a bigger discussion around, regional transport and so forth.
Yes, when you think about it, you see Wairarapa Masterton, Air New Zealand pulled out of there, but they were doing very well now with their tourism industry with the small airlines coming in and out. So we may be on a pig's back here.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, again, we could look back in a couple of years' time and you could have a very good independent provider flying out of Kapiti, providing a better level of service, a more reliable one, to more destinations. I guess, as I said to my wife last night or this morning, there's something with having your national carrier flying out of your town. People are used to their air points, they're used to the ease of booking and so forth. So obviously that's had it's had merit around the attraction of having your national carrier being Air New Zealand flying out of your town.
Yes.
But that being said, air to there and the others that are options, I'm sure can provide a good, efficient service. And I guess we'll just have to watch that space and see what happens. Look, it doesn't really change in the sense of what's happening on the Kapiti Coast, the events and attractions that we have here. It's simply trying to provide someone that can offer an alternative service to get people to that, and I'm reasonably confident that we'll be able to achieve that. So,
Good.
Don't get me wrong. I would have preferred to have seen Air New Zealand stick it out. And as I said, I'm sure if there's any possibility of that happening, that those discussions will continue on. But from what I can gather, it's I certainly know that when Guru met with them, he didn't take it down. Take it lying down. So. I'm sure those discussions will continue on.
Sure. Just a couple of quick Otaki things. Did you ever get that sorted out in the Bottle shop in Otaki? We're going to have a look at that. Has that gone ahead, or what's the story on that?
Yeah, so look, I'm not too sure how much I can mention in regards to that, because it's a liquor license application, and that goes to a hearing, and I think I need to be reasonably careful. But a company or an individual did apply. It has been considered by the alcohol licensing panel, and I don't know whether a decision has been made yet.
Yep.
My understanding was that it was fairly close, so if a decision hasn't been made, then it's still a possibility, but other than that, I probably couldn't say anything more. I do know the shop's still vacant, so yeah.
All right then, James, run out of time, but thanks very much for your thoughts on the airport. Much appreciated.
All right, thanks very much. Bye.
James Cootes, Otaki Ward Councillor, here on Beach FM.
106.3 Beach FM.